Welcome again to the session, in fact, the last session on Aristotle's Poetics. And we will quickly summarize what we have read so far. And we'll also discuss the question answer and important topics for examination in our assignments and on Google Classroom. So let's summarize what we have read so far in the text of Poetics by Aristotle. In the beginning chapters, Aristotle announces his intention to treat of poetic art and its kinds and what kind of a plot is required for a good poem. Talking about the fundamental principle of poetics, he says that a poem is mimesis, that is imitation, and tragedy in particular is an imitation of an action. Since tragedy is an imitation and there is being a metric discourse, it is called a poem. But when we look back at Socratic dialogues, whether they are poems or not, because they are philosophical discourses, and certain other works which are written in epic meter, he also discusses in detail. Then he talks about the number of genres and the earlier performance genres like dithyrambics and gnomes, and includes instrumental music, dance, and poetry. He also talks of four kinds: epic tragedy and comedy, and dramatic tragedy and comedy. Further, the three kinds of differentiation are traditionally translated as the three kinds, which he translates as medium, object, and mode. What is the medium that is being used, which is being signified, and how it has been handled and tackled? Medium, he talks of medium in the context of sensory characteristics in which imitation is made, and analogies with other imitative arts in the form of colors and figures, as in painting and sculpture. Then he also talks of three media of poetry, which has rhythm, discourse, that is speech, and harmony or music, and the kinds of poetry, objects of poetry, which are the kinds of moral character: good, bad, and intermediate. Involving these examples, he also talks of flute playing, which involves rhythm and harmony, and dancing, which involves rhythm alone. So kind of a narration or enactment or mixture of all these compositions of modes or methods. Then he talks about the objects which are enacted. In tragedy it is good. In comedy it is bad because it represents men as worser, tragedy as men as better. Then in narrative mode we have tragic epic, and then we have a comic epic. In chapter 6 he defines tragedy. This is a very important definition of tragedy, which compasses all the characteristic features of a tragedy. And the first thing is imitation of an action. This is the first feature. Second feature, the action should be serious. Third feature, the action should be complete. Fourth, action should have a certain magnitude. Fifth, language should be embellished with or artistic ornaments. And these several kinds or forms or enactment, the modes of enactment can be dramatic or narrative. And last but not the least, through pity and fear, through catharsis, it causes purgation of emotions. The genre of tragedy, Aristotle says, is a culmination of the perfection of poetic art, and these are the parts of tragedies: story, plot, character, thought, language, spectacle, and song. The stories, he says, is a series of episodes and have casual unity and completeness. Character is the moral quality of the agent. Thought is the viewpoint of the agent, how he argues that thought. And language is, of course, the language of the discourse, which is elevated, it should be elevated and clear. Spectacle is something which is referred and defined as a sensory appearance of a dramatic presentation. And spectacle, for Aristotle, was a means of exposition of the story. And essentially essentially which belongs to the stagecraft as opposed to poetry. And song and music, as used in drama, are important aspects again of a tragedy. Now, by means of these elements, Aristotle says that poetics is connected to other parts of philosophy also, because when we talk about plot and character, they connect the text poetics with ethics. Thought, when he talks of thought, it is connected with logic and rhetoric, and when he talks of language, it is related with grammar. Because plot and character are connected with ethics, is he's talking about good plot and bad plot, good character and bad character. So it deals with ethics. Thoughts with logic and rhetoric is thought should be presented in such a manner that it enhances the quality of the thought. And language, of course, should take into consideration the basic nuances or the features of grammar. Now, in Aristotle's ethical theory, when he talks of happiness, he says happiness is the supreme end of human life, and happiness is, of course, a virtuous activity. It is a product of virtue and fortune, and the only virtue is within our power. He also talks of virtues, two kinds of virtues. One is intellectual, other is moral. Intellectual virtue, he says, has three spheres: the theoretical, the productive, and the practical. Moral virtue is the tendency or inclination towards those actions which practical reason determines and are conducive towards happiness. Moral virtue, according to Aristotle, is the product of training in the youth and cumulative effect of one's history of choices as an adult. All action, he says, is for ends. Choice is a deliberate desire, and that is when one desires to do so is a result of calculating the means to an end. He also evaluates everything in poetry based on the tragic effect. The purgation of emotions is very important, because emotions of pity and fear, which are caused after watching a tragedy or reading a tragedy, he although says very little, but this catharsis is very essential for the tragic effect to happen. And he also relegates existential and theological meanings of tragedies to the basic elements of thought. And the most essential element, according to Aristotle, is story. And for the sake of meaning, he says further points like a complex and simple plot. He summarizes with the help of examples. When he talks of the story of Oedipus, his birth to king and queen of Thebes, the prophecy and destined to kill his father, then the story that he is adopted and raised by the king and queen, and all time believing that they are his real parents. But when he grew up as a man, he learns of a prophecy that he is destined to mate with his mother and kill his father. It's very illogical. Then traveling to Thebes, he quarrels with and kills a man he meets on the road, and then meets his biological father. And after arriving at Thebes, he gains power by solving the riddle of the Sphinx and marries the widowed queen, of course, the mother. So, in a way, he's trying to mate with the mother and the biological mother. The city falls prey to a plague and certainly interpreted as a punishment for harboring the murderer of Laius. And then Oedipus resolves to root out and get rid of the city's pollution. This is how Oedipus binds himself with her Bruges and becomes an exile. So Aristotle classifies this in the context of a plot as simple or compound. Compound plot, he says, contain one or both of the elements of recognition and reversal, and is superior to the simple one. Recognition, defined by Aristotle, is the revelation of a character as someone other than he or she has purported to be. Reversal or fortune is the transition from good or bad fortune to the opposite. And then he says the best tragic plot is one which evokes the emotions of pity and fear, which leads to purgation. The downfall of a good man on account of his hamartia, some flaw in his character, sin, fault, or flaw. And he refers to the plot of Homer's Odyssey, which is not very ideal in this respect, because the bad fall and the good, that is the Odysseus, he rises. So this is not the plot of a complete complex plot of a proper tragedy. Then he also says that in constructing a good plot, the poet has to place the scene as far as possible before his eyes. This he mentions in chapter 17. He is also referring to Homer as the most imitative of epic poets because Homer has the characters as opposed to the poet and always doing a talking. Out of the six elements to fantasy and science fiction, he says, I have not talked about these. And he argues that the seventh element would be the world, because in Greek tragedies, the world was usually given the world as of Homeric heroes. And the examples of those worlds of fantasy and science fiction, the Middle Earth or the Galactic Empire, etc., have been mentioned. And the primary story, he says, has the function of giving a perspective on a larger story. For example, in Homeric poems, the Trojan War particularly, the character, he says, can be expanded to include a personality, the personalities of the kinds of aliens which are to be residing in the known space of Niven, and the primary means by which a poem has some philosophical content. And spectacle can be thought of as including description of the world and action of the story, what is seen in the mind's eye or felt by the reader. Assignment, he says, for analyzing a short story or movie should be the starting point, should be the six parts of a tragedy, and the seventh one would be the world.